Assalamu alaikum, Mr. Islam answers back with more great information for you guys. Don't forget, guys, to like, follow. You're definitely going to learn. And remember, if you want the notes, so you too can be prepared to handle and refute the Christian missionaries, join my Patreon. Click the link or copy and paste this link that you see here, or just click the link. It's right on my profile page. It'll take you right to it. Become a supporting member, and you can get the notes for this video and all my other informative videos to help you be prepared with that strong knowledge and information to refute and counter the Christian missionaries in their attacks against Islam and in your dawah efforts. Now let's get started. In this one, we're going to lay to rest the argument that Christians use for John 8:58, the before Abraham I am alleged statement of Jesus. We're going to lay it to rest. All right? We're going to lay it to rest. We're going to put it down and lay it to rest from here on out. So, as you see, this verse is used where Jesus is allegedly saying to some Jews that he's speaking to, before Abraham I am. The Christian uses this as a supposed proof or evidence that Jesus is claiming to be God. Well, first of all, no, he's not claiming to be God, because several verses prior, as you see here, John chapter 8, verse 40, several verses prior to verse 58, he already told these Jews that he wasn't God. Look at what and notice here, he's even telling them that they are attempting to take his life. Why? Not because he's claiming to be God, but because what? Because he is a man, not a God, a man who told them the truth that he heard from God. Okay? So right here, he told them very clearly, look, I am not God. I'm a man telling you the truth that I heard from God. And he said, this is the reason that they're trying to take his life. Not because he's claiming to be God. That's just a bunch of lies and false witnesses that they're making against him and false charges. But he's letting them know the real reason you're trying to do this is because I'm this man telling you the truth that I heard from God. And obviously they don't like it and they want to take his life. So that's the reason. So, but again, the point is to show you that before you get to verse 58, he clearly tells them, I am not God. I'm a man. And you know, they know, and he knows that that the Bible already told them, or rather the Hebrew scriptures told them that God is not a man, right? In several places. So they should know that. So he's making it clear, look, I'm a man telling you the truth that I heard from God. Then he goes further again before we go to get to verse 58. He again reiterates the claim and the point to them that he's not God in verse 42. As you see here, look what it says. He says, look, if God were your father, you would love me because I came here from God. Not that I am here as God, but I came here from God. And look, I did not come on my own. God sent me. So again, those are clear, unambiguous words. They're not even vague. They're very straightforward, very direct, telling them straight up and down, that I came here. I didn't even come here on my own. That's a clear indication that he obviously isn't God himself. By saying I didn't even come here on my own, it was God who sent me. God is obviously someone other than himself. That's very clear. Okay? So before you get to verse 58, you read these verses in the same chapter. It's the same chapter, just several verses prior, where he makes it clear to them, I'm a man telling you the truth that I heard from God. I didn't come here on my own. It was God who sent me, which means he obviously isn't God himself who has come to earth to see everybody. No, it was God who sent him. He didn't even come on his own. A clear proof, a clear statement letting you know, I obviously am not God myself. If I'm telling you, I didn't come on my own, right? He knows, they know, everybody knows God can do on his own as he pleases. But Jesus says, I didn't even come on my own. That's clear. So when we get to verse 58, what does he mean when he says before Abraham, I am? Because he already just told them that he wasn't God. Is he contradicting himself? No. And we know that he isn't saying what God said. The Christian claims that he is repeating the words of Exodus 3:14, that he's saying the same thing God said. But a close examination will show you that that is not correct. He is not saying what God said. Okay? Now, of course, the Old Testament or the Hebrew scriptures are in Greek, right? The Jews, their main language is excuse me, I'm not Greek, Hebrew. Their main language is Hebrew. So the version of the old of the Hebrew scriptures that they accept are the Hebrew version. So the Hebrew obviously is not going to match. John is written in Greek, right? So how can we see if Jesus is saying the same thing that God said? Well, good for us. There is a Greek version of the Hebrew scriptures or the Old Testament known as the Septuagint, right? So here, since we can't compare the Hebrew and the Greek, we can compare the Greek Old Testament with the Greek New Testament, and let's see if the words match. And you're going to be surprised, they don't match. Let's take a look. So here is the Greek of the New Testament, where Jesus' words are put in the Greek. Notice here at the end, it says, before Abraham, I am. And in the Greek, it is what? It's ego eime. Ego eime, right? The Christian says, see, this matches what God said in Exodus 3:14. I am, but that's wrong. Actually, he doesn't. Here is, first let me show you an English version of the Greek Old Testament, the Septuagint, right? Look at the look at the English translation of it. Notice how it doesn't match your John 8:58. Even in English, it doesn't match. Here, look what it says. It says that God told to Moses to tell the people or whatever that I am the being has sent you, right? So go to them and tell them the being has sent you. See, not I am. So you see, it doesn't match. He says, I am the being. So the Greek translation of the Old Testament has God saying to Moses, tell them that I am the being has sent you, right? I am the being, not I am just plain I am that I am. No, I am the being. And then it ends the verse by saying, say to them that who? The being has sent you. Not I am has sent you. The being has sent you. So as you can see, this version, the Greek version of the Old Testament, translated into English, doesn't match even the English translation of the New Testament into English. It doesn't match. Jesus says before Abraham, I am, but God says the being. So it doesn't even match in the English of the translation of the Greek Old and New Testament. But now let's go to the actual Greek and see, does it match in the Greek? Maybe let's see if the writer of John is matching the Greek of the Old Testament, where you can say, look, they correlate. Here's the Greek of the Old Testament and the Greek of the New Testament, and they match. Jesus is saying exactly what God said in the Greek of both, but he's not. Let's look. So here is the Greek of the New Testament, right? As you see, again, Jesus says, it says that he said, ego eime, right? However, let's look at the Greek of the Old Testament, right? As you see on this chart here, it shows you the Hebrew, the English in the middle, and then on the other side is the Greek. Now look at what God is saying in the Greek of the Old Testament. It says, ego eime ho on. Ego eime ho on. Okay? And then it ends by saying what? You shall tell them ho on has sent you. Not ego eime. Not ego eime has sent you, but ha on, or ho on has sent you. Right? So it doesn't match. Jesus says before Abraham, ego eime. But God said to Moses, tell them ho on or ha on has sent you, not ego eime. So then the actual phrase or the actual title or name that God is using to Moses is ha on in the Greek, right? Ho on, ha on in the Greek, not ego eime. So ego eime is not actually the actual name or the phrase that God is saying to use. It's ha on. Or Ho-on, right? I'm not sure which one is Ho-on. I heard Ha-on. Or Ha-on is the name that's used. So, and in John, Jesus says, ego eime, not Ha-on. So he's not saying what God says, Christians. It doesn't match. So you're wrong. As you can see, I literally showed you in the Greek itself, it doesn't match. Jesus says ego eime before Abraham, ego eime, but God told Moses, tell them that Ha-on has sent you, not I am, not ego eime. So it doesn't match. So Jesus was not saying what God said. And if the writer of John wanted us to think that, he should have used Jesus before Abraham, Ha-on. That would have been the match. But he used ego eime, showing that Jesus is not saying that. And he couldn't be based upon the verses that I just showed you prior. Again, don't forget to like, follow, click that link, join the Patreon, and get these notes so you can use them for yourself. Assalamu alaikum.